we're here to do our first episode of Crockpot Convos. I don't know about you, but I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I'm excited and slightly nervous. Don't know why I'm nervous.
Nobody knows why you're nervous.
No one is why I'm nervous. it just is what it is.
It's a natural feeling.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about doing this for a while now, so
here we are.
Yes,
what are we talking about today?
So I think we all agreed that it would be good to start this chat with purpose. Like, what is purpose? The journey to purpose, our individual journeys to purpose. Because I feel like that brings us to Crockpot Convos, you know what I mean? The purpose has been like a complex thing. Like, I think the world has made purpose complicated. And I've found so much relief now that I've gone through a whole bunch of stuff that brought me to my purpose. I realized how actually uncomplicated it is. You know what I mean? So I kind of want to talk about that today. Like, is that cool, you guys? So yeah, purpose. What is it? I probably should have looked up the definition of it first. But for me, purpose is what my contribution is to my time on earth right now. Like, that's purpose, and that can come in so many different ways. It's not necessarily what I do that earns money. Like, I might be doing what I do from 9 to 5 literally just to make money. It doesn't have to be my purpose, but everything that I participate in somehow is connected to my life's work, which would be my purpose. So that's kind of like a broad definition. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Like, for me, I feel like personally, because faith is the most important thing to me. So for me, purpose is definitely rooted in my identity of who I am in Christ and in God. And so when I think about that, my identity in Christ is really rooted that God formed me before, he saw me before the foundations of the world, and he created me for a specific purpose. And the more that I sit in secret place with him and understand him and understand myself and what that relationship is, I feel like I walk more and more in the purpose that he created me to exist in. Like you said, how I choose to spend my time and use my time on earth is a manifestation of what I believe about myself and what I believe I'm meant to contribute. So for me personally, my broad purpose is to share the light and love of God, and how I do that may be different from how somebody else does that. So for me, purpose is definitely rooted in identity and how that then manifests itself in how I interact with my community and how I choose to spend my time.
What about you, Nita?
I think mine's is kind of in between, because I think that we're all born with a purpose. So similar to what Chelsea was saying, when God created me, I was created for a purpose, and I was born with that purpose, but I didn't know what that purpose was.
Right. And
that's where the complex part comes into play, because people always wonder I gotta find my purpose, I don't know what my purpose is, and it's this big deal. When really, when you figure out, it's I know my purpose, and it's not really that complicated.
Yeah.
But when the journey to finding your purpose can be complicated, it has ups and it has downs. And once you find that purpose, I think it's something that feeds your soul. It brings you life. You enjoy it, and it doesn't feel like a job. And like you said, it's not always something that you get paid for, but it's just the energy that is amazing. This is my purpose. I love to do it. This is why God put me on this earth.
I like that you said the journey. So we're born with a purpose. I think we all agree on that, right? But obviously we don't know, we're a baby. We're not born I'm here to, dismantle oppression. You know what I mean? We don't know that. And so, as we journey, especially as a child and adolescent, young adult, there's so many influences that I want to use the word infiltrate. They infiltrate our subconscious, and then we start to agree to different things that society is telling us, okay, in order to be successful, you do this. in order to have a purposeful life, you do this. In order to be happy, you do this. And so we have all this stuff floating around. And I think that's the complex part, is like navigating what parts are for you and what parts are not for you, and learning that your purpose is not connected to any of those things. So, like, you don't have to be highly educated to exist within your purpose. You don't have to be married to exist within your purpose, or a mother, or whatever. Like, you were born with it in you already. And the world, like, pushes us to worldly, material, external things, when the way to find your purpose is reflecting at what's already in here.
It's interesting what you just said, because kind of how I thought about that topic a bit is like, I was created to be Chelsea. Like, that's the only thing like God created me to do. Motherhood is a role that I may step into. Wife is a role I may step into. A career is a role that I step into. But who Chelsea is in those roles is reflective. Do I know my identity? Do I know my purpose? And being strong in that understanding of self allows me to, whatever my purpose is, leak that into my roles,
Yes.
And I think a lot of people confuse a role with purpose and who you are as just who you were created to be.
Yeah.
And it's about, like, I think you both touched on it. It's finding out who you are and what makes you happy.
Exactly.
And then you can find your purpose, not doing things to make other people or what society says. And I think comparison is the thief of all joy, because it's so easy to compare what I have to what you have and to what you have. And, you may have the job that I want with, flexibility or whatever. And me comparing it, it brings me down. And if I look at myself and what brings me joy in my life, and look and have gratitude and not comparison, like if I'm married and you're not, I got married at 24, you got married at 30. It's not a big deal. We don't need to compare. We just need to look at our purpose, because life's not about those things.
It's not about those things. And, it's interesting that you talked about, like, the comparison part, because if all of our journeys were identical, then that would have to mean that our purpose is identical.
And it's not.
And then there would be no purpose for, the how many billions of people there are on earth if everything was supposed to be the same. And so, I think a big part for me in my personal experience was detaching from, what is it supposed to look like?
Yes.
What is it supposed to look like? I mean, purpose right now is trendy. I feel like for me growing up, it was success. That's what everybody was seeking. That's what everybody was chasing. I have to do X, Y, Z to be successful. Oh, everyone's chasing purpose. And I kind of feel like at the end of the day, success, purpose, happiness, joy, it all comes down to knowing yourself. But the problem is that we're not taught how to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Just
sorry, yeah. And success and purpose is all different for everybody.
Exactly.
So my success may be different from your success, but it may feel like success to me, but it may not look like success to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's fine, because if it brings me joy and that's what makes me happy, then
you're successful.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's such an important point, because I know, 4, 5, 6 years ago now, the definition of success really started to change for me. I knew when I first came out of high school, it was like, I want to get a prestigious job with a prestigious title, and my identity was rooted in feeling like I can present this accomplished thing. But then I started to really figure out that the prestigious areas that I thought I would want to be in, it didn't even make me happy. So the definition of success started to change. It was, for me, success is being able to do the things that I love to do, just spend time with family. For me now, it's share the word of God, but at the time I didn't even know that. But it was, I wanted to do the things I love to do and balance that with what I had to do. So had to do was make an income. And in the ideal world, we would love for our income to be able to match what we love to do. But at that time, I was like, I don't need a prestigious title. I just need to have balance so that I could do more of what I love.
Yeah.
And when my identity and success was rooted in putting an image forward of what I thought it should look like what you said, it just really started I started living more authentically.
Yeah.
Because when we're growing up, our idea of success and how we should live our lives is really put on us by our environment.
Mhm.
What our parents say, church, or whatever the case may be, school.
Yeah.
So we have this idea of what it's supposed to be, and then we start to believe that that's what we need to do, when in all reality we need to just figure out what makes us happy.
And there's a lot of pressure to figure that out before you even have a chance to know yourself.
Don't
Exactly.
even don't even get me started on that, because I get so, irritated. When I think about the pressure that is put on us, like, and this is no shade to my parents and anything like that, but like, I think when I was like 8, I was talking about going to Oakwood College. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, why are we talking about that? I should have been playing with Barbie dolls. Like, you know what I mean? And my whole, I guess, academic journey was to go to college.
You even got a full ride to Oakwood that you turned down, right?
I turned it down.
Yes,
yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast about, education and stuff. But, you're so right. Our environment shapes what we believe is important. So for me, a lot of my, I guess, wanted to do was rooted in, get an education, get a job, a good job, get married, have children. And, as you know, I did not. The only thing I did was get an education. And then I was like, I don't want to do anything that has to do with that anyway. But, it grinds my gears, because those are the years where we should be learning about ourselves, and also understanding that we're going to change. So the expectation to have our whole life path figured out when we walk down, the aisle for graduation from high school is absolutely unrealistic. I graduated when I was 17 years old. I was stupid when I was 17 years old, and y'all wanted me to create a life plan at that, vulnerable, impressionable, stupid age, and so I would love to be a part of changing that expectation, definitely for my family and my children. We want to make good choices and stuff like that, but I just think so much emphasis is put on what do you want to be when you grow up, not
who
do you want to be, what kind of
what brings you
person
joy,
do you want to be, so sorry I went on a little tangent, but
No, it's definitely
like that
Well, because, like you said, the journey to get into where we are now took being in a space where we had the space to experience things that allowed us to understand more about ourselves. The traditional school system, there's no experience other than the one that has been cultivated and created for you to fit into.
Exactly.
And for me, it was only through trial and error. My daddy always used to say, you're not gonna be like, you have to feel to learn. Like, you can't just listen and like learn from like someone get passing you knowledge. Sis was like, no, I have to experience it all. But it's really through this like experiences where I was like, okay, that worked, that didn't work. Like you said, I agree with this, I disagree with this, and it's only until my math teacher once said, like, self-discovery is permanent. It's only until you really have an opportunity to self-discover whatever those things are, that your identity or what you identify becomes permanent, like what you know to be true about who you are.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a whole other thing in itself, because failure, you learn the most when you fail. But people put this big stigma around failure, like you're just not supposed to do it. Like, don't fail in anything, please.
Actually, I needed to hear that today. I'm so glad you said that. Carry on.
But it's good to fail, because you learn so much when you fail. You learn more from failing than you ever do learn from succeeding. And you fall 100 times more than you succeed. And when we teach children that failure is bad, they give up as soon as they fail. When they need to learn that it's okay to fail, learn from what you have experienced, pick back up, and try something else.
And maybe, like, we don't even have to call it failure. It's an experience, you know? I know being of, like, everything was, I don't want to say perfect, but, I did everything right. up until this point, and I did well, and I didn't fail. Straight A student. All the things. Until I failed epically, and I had no idea how to deal with the emotions that came with failure and disappointing people you love, because I hadn't really done that before, and so that first taste of failure, and it was epic, it took me down a really dark road because I didn't know how to navigate it or manage it. And because my self-worth was based on performing well, because when I performed well, I was validated. So when I wasn't performing well, I wasn't getting the validation. And so all of a sudden I felt worthless. Like I didn't have a purpose. It would be better if I just wasn't here. And that's so dangerous. When we attach purpose to,
Validation.
Yeah, to validation, or when we attach purpose to works. Like my purpose is literally just the energy that I have that I'm supposed to share with the world, and that will come through so many different things. I don't have to do anything specific, and we shouldn't, I know, it's going to be hard to change like the whole world's ideology about this, but we shouldn't be promoting this mindset that you have to check certain boxes to be worthy or impactful or be existing within your purpose. It's really dangerous. And I think a lot of people are suffering from depression because they're not meeting social expectations of success, of, joy, of purpose. And they're struggling with that,
No, I get it. And even like my personal life, everybody looks at me and it's like, oh, like you did everything right.
Yeah.
Like I graduated.
I'm doing that about you.
I found my husband.
Like she had these systems. It was
Okay.
check.
But it puts a lot of pressure on you. But also people look at you and like, oh, your life's so perfect. But that's why I like to share my struggles. I like to share like the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have their lives out there, they only show the perfect, right? And no one is ever perfect, but also that's why I say don't compare. Like don't compare to me, and everyone doesn't know what I experienced behind closed doors.
Right.
Just because I got married in my 20s, had my kids, I'm still married, I have a good job, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't mean that life's perfect, and it doesn't even mean that you're happy.
That's the key right there.
Right, because I was brought up in a way as well where you have to go to university, you have to get the degree to get the job, and I love my daddy. A lot of the things that I done was to make sure I was making daddy proud. Disappointment is a big word, and I mean my daddy always used to be.
That's worse than anger. Like I would rather you be angry at me than disappointed. I'm like,
you're disappointed in me, daddy. Don't.
I know, man, my feelings.
Exactly. Like I don't need licks. I just need a nigga disappointed in me.
I'm not with you. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I didn't want to disappoint my daddy, so I wanted to make sure I do everything right. While I do have joy in my life, and I do think I'm happy. In the beginning, I get in the degree, and I was the one. I always knew what I wanted to be. So I knew I wanted to be a lawyer until I was in 12th grade. So at the beginning of 12th grade, they do all that career stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I have to do all that history. And no, that's not for me. Then I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everyone was like, oh, wow, you're good at math. So
Actuary.
Yeah. Wow. Sister, the internship.
No.
That weren't for me either. And then I went to college and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I felt like I was a disappointment in a way because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And then I got a degree and I don't even use that degree today.
Right.
And that's what I think most people do. You go and you get a degree, you don't really know what you want to do, but you have to get a degree. And that's why I think majority of people who get a degree, they're not even using their degree, because once you get a certain age, you start to realize what brings you joy, and you want to do those things more. And you kind of venture off from what your parents tell you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I started to do in the last few years of my life.
Ironically, I think failing out of university, college away was one of the best things that could have happened to me, because I was on the path of becoming a veterinarian, because all my life I love animals, and the veterinarian is like the most prestigious thing you could do in animals. And so although animals and environment is still a huge part of things that bring me joy, the prestige of it, that's just not what I wanted to do. And I don't think if I would have not failed physics and not, gotten into the school that I got into, I don't think that I would have been on the path that I am today. And, when I came back when I was at Bermuda College doing my associates, I got the opportunity to work full time in the field that I wanted to be in anyway. And so I didn't finish school. And for a while, not finishing school was like, so we have the same daddy. And like, and the same mama. But, it's like, I know daddy really values education. So like, for a really long time, I was like, man, like I need to finish. I need to get back to school. I need to finish. But like that never brought me joy. Like, and I firmly believe that get educated in what brings you joy, but that doesn't have to look like a 4-year degree. So I went out and became a dog groomer. That took me 2 months of intensive training. So I got the education that I felt I needed to be qualified in that field. But education could look like experiencing. It could look like internship, shadowing someone who's already in the field. It can look like self-study. It can look like University of YouTube. Yeah. You can acquire knowledge so many different ways. And so even just coming to a space where I was okay, that I remember I went to an establishment that worked with dogs, and I was doing dog grooming. I was actually in my business at the time, and someone was like, "But are you going to go back to school for vets?" I'm like, "Well, no, because that's not what I want to do." He's like, "Well, I mean, you usually get a degree." I'm like, "Well, I can see that a degree is really important to you, but my identity is no longer in needing a piece of paper to validate whether I'm good at something and worthy of something." Yeah. And so, I mean, that was probably the most liberating thing. And I remember sitting down and having a conversation with my dad and expressing to him, like, I feel like I let you down. Like, I'm not proud. I didn't make you proud because I didn't finish school. He goes, honey, like, your boldness, your bravery to go out and try new things is something that I admire about you. And not everyone can be brave enough to go out on a limb and try something new. And again, just experiencing, I mean, I'm not grooming full time today. I dismantled that business, but I had to experience doing that full time to know that that's not necessarily what I want to do and where I find my joy. And there is no shame in changing your mind.
Yes.
Like, you are allowed. Like, that was a whole self-talk. Like, when I was choosing to close down perfection, I was like, Chelsea, I don't care if people's going to perceive that your business failed, that's why it shut down. You know that this isn't bringing you joy. And so you have the authority and ability to change your mind and change your course, because only you know that this is bringing you joy or not. This is bringing you peace. For me, money is very important because money is a tool. It is a tool that helps with quality of life. But money has now been driven my desire to do something. I have to feel like I am fulfilling a purpose, or I am being fulfilled. Like, I always used to say, because of my personality, anywhere that I am, I can enjoy being there. But just because I enjoy being there doesn't mean being there is bringing me joy. And that's completely different things. And filling me. Because if I'm empty, what do I have to spill onto other people? And recently, I now find my purpose in being just really identifying as a daughter of God, and just God is always pouring his love and light into my heart. And I feel like my purpose is to share that. And so I am overflowing all of this love and light onto people. But again, it's like, and I feel fulfilled all the time, just existing in that purpose. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing to understand that.
I can't wait until we do like an episode on each of our individual like paths to purpose, I guess, because like what I'm hearing is that the path to purpose, like it's a path, like it's not something that you just find like that, and your purpose changes. Well, I won't say your purpose changes. I think that, like for me, I know that my purpose is to nurture and motivate and empower other people. That's like the base level. That's what it is. And as I journey through life, my purpose manifests in different ways. So part of that is, motherhood. I have 3 people that I need to nurture. and motivate and
And
empower.
cultivate.
You know what I mean? That's part of my purpose. Another part is, through a little girl grows up, like that. Or another part is, when I'm doing my feeding program at work, like that purpose is in me. It took me a long time to figure out what it was, but now that I know, like, that this is what I was put on this earth for, one, I can see how all my experiences connected to that purpose. Like, I needed to go through that, and I needed to go through that, and that. Lord help us when we talk about my journey. But anyway, I needed to go through all those things to be able to nurture, to be able to motivate, to be able to empower. And so the idea that, we're going to know what our purpose is and what we're supposed to do with our life, at 17, 18, 20, 25, 30 even.
It's impossible.
It's impossible because we need the experiences we learn who we are through experiences.
Yeah.
We learn who we are through emotion, how we feel about certain things in our life. And so we need those things. And then at some point, if we are doing the self-reflection work, we're able to identify that purpose, like that one thing. So you identify your purpose as, a daughter of God, like to share the love and light of God. You only are able to identify that through all the things, like, you know what I mean? And so I find that to be beautiful, but it also requires patience. It requires a level of acceptance, and something that I've been seeing a lot is everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Knowing and understanding that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. This is the experience that I need, because if I didn't need it, it wouldn't be happening. It wouldn't be happening. Even things that are self-inflicted, because a lot of my experiences were choices, but I needed it to be able to exist fully present in my purpose, and I feel like that's coming to that place, like, not, knock on wood, I don't want to die or anything, but, coming to that place makes me feel at peace that I fulfill my purpose now, because I know what it is and I'm existing in it every day in whatever, capacity I have to show up in that day.
Right, but you never know how many more people you need to touch.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. On the wood. I don't, I'm not ready yet, but I have that peace now. Whereas trying to find it through these like specific channels, I don't know if I would have ever that way.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey. Like, we talk about it all the time. We look at the Israelites because we have to go through our wilderness, right? The Israelites, they were supposed to reach their destination in like
40 days!
And it took them 40 years.
40 years!
Was it 40 days?
Oh,
It was
why?
a 40 day. It was supposed to be a 40-day journey, but it took them 40 years because of not believing in the identity of who they are and a spirit of disobedience. For real.
They have to go through the journey and figure it out. And that's why some people, it takes them longer because, you have to go through different experiences. You may let your limiting beliefs limit you for longer. Everybody's journey is different, but it's definitely a journey into finding that purpose. But once you find it, it's like...
It's like a...
Yeah.
Like an aha, like,
Yeah.
no,
Exactly.
I can walk boldly.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good place to start to wind down this particular conversation because, we all agree that experiences are those pivots and changes along the journey that lead us to really understanding our identity, and in understanding that, just understanding our purpose.
Yeah.
And we've experienced a lot, and I think we'll have opportunities to talk about those very real and individual experiences that has helped us to be where we are today, and also how in like these conversations, when we have conversations with each other, it helps our experiences help each of us in that experience, and getting there.
Yeah.
For sure.
So cheers to stirring the pot some more.
Yes.
Next time, as we talk about our own, experiences and some of our collective experiences, because we're a family, so we have some collective experiences that have definitely contributed. But this has been like a really nice talk. I always love talking to you guys and hearing your perspectives, but especially on this topic, because I feel like more people need to give themselves permission to uncomplicate purpose.
Yes.
And to understand that living is the only way to get into your purpose. Like, there is no rush. I need to figure out what I need to do with my life. Like, no. Like, be present, be self-aware, and enjoy the journey, and somewhere in that you will stumble on your purpose,
It made me think of God meets you where you are, so you don't have to be where you think you need to be. Just be present in where you are, and you will get there.
You'll get there.
Yeah. And you took the words right out of my mouth. Enjoy the journey. Be grateful for where you are. Don't compare yourself to other people, and
Definitely.
you'll find your purpose. And when you have that aha moment, it's no turning back.
It's no turning back. Then you're
No
like,
turning back.
oh my goodness, how did I not see this? This is what I was born to do,
Yes.
So yeah.
I love you, ladies.
I love you too.